Much like the first Face of Fear video, this one can include, and actually I shouldn't say may, will include a description of a disturbing, graphic, disgusting quality. And so viewer discretion is advised. And I will warn again when we get to that part. The difficulty I've had in describing Saren is that, on the one hand, there are basically two Sarens. There is the Saren who is presented to the world, and then there is the Saren who is in charge of the Faces of Fear. And on top of that, both of them, while I would say clearly conceived in my mind, have a visceral quality to them. In that, there are parts of her that I feel, but don't really have the skill to put into words. And so I will try my best. In the last video, The Faces of Fear Part 2, we talked about how Saren came to be as a character, and she served as the archetypical face of fear for the prestige class, and then how the Faces of Fear cult was built around her, because I didn't want just her as a character to serve as the villain. She needed some help and some henchmen to help flesh her out and flesh out the encounters. And so we got Garrick the Swordsman, Warwick the Wizard, and Radek the Toad, who I don't remember if I mentioned last time, but we'll get to Radek eventually as well. Oh, what am I pushing on here? There's a piece of popcorn in my breast pocket on my shirt. I was eating popcorn a little bit ago watching TV, and one of them fell right into my pocket. Wonderful. I will not eat that right now despite having nowhere else to put it. Let's just put it over here. So, the Saren that is presented to the world. We see this picture. This is not even close. I shouldn't say it's not even close, but it's definitely not the picture of Saren that I normally have. When it came to showing you the picture of Garrett, the guy with the twisted face from Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, that was pretty much right on par because the character's looks were based on that. In this instance, Saren, I had an idea of what Saren looked like in my head, and trying to find a picture that matches someone who I already know what she looks like, that's difficult. However, this will serve our purpose just fine. So when Saren left home and joined the cult of the Ebon Hand, she was 16 years old or thereabouts. And now, as after going through that cult and rebelling against the leader and starting up her own cult, she's now in her early 20s. Um, and when you see her, anywhere outside of the Face of Fear headquarters itself, anytime she's presenting herself out to the world, what you see is a young woman. She's pretty. We'll get to why in a minute. She's pretty. She comes across as friendly, innocent, naive, playful, whatever she needs to. She seems very, I'm going to use the word attractive. I mean that both in the sense of she appears attractive, but also in the sense that she's a friendly person. She's someone that you want to be around. She seems like she's fun or nice, what have you. She does this on purpose. Saren possesses a hat of disguise. It's a magic item in Dungeons and Dragons, and it does what you think it does. It disguises you. Just by wearing this hat or whatever item it might be, it allows you to make an illusion so that you appear how you want to appear. And Saren uses it to make sure that she always looks young and beautiful, and she naturally has blonde hair. She does not have red eyes, although this picture does, but it works. And then she has her own acting abilities to do the emotional manipulation on you. The What else am I trying to think of here? Oh, clerics. Saren is a cleric in D&D, and clerics use wisdom as their main stat. Wisdom is also the stat that is used for insight, for perception, for the ability to sense other people's motives, things like that. Which means she has a very keen understanding of humans and other people. She can very quickly sort of read you and figure out what makes you tick and then work to play off of that. So if, for example, she knows that you are a nurturer or the kind of person who needs to be, the white knight kind of person, she can make herself look downtrodden and in need of help. She can do that pretty easily. On the other hand, if you're the kind of person that needs, someone who's a little bit more upbeat and challenging and a bit rivalry competitive thing, she can do that too. If you think, I don't ever recommend people watch the movie Season of the Witch with Nicolas Cage. I did. The first half of the movie is absolutely terrible, but once they reach the monastery, it gets pretty good. But the way that the girl in that movie interacts with all the different characters and how she's able to manipulate each of them by changing how she acts. That's the kind of thing that Saren does, and she uses her hat of disguise to help along with that, along with her personal charisma, which is influencing her ability to lie, and her wisdom, which is allowing her to figure out what it is that you want to see or hear. So, the truth of it is that Saren is a complete and total lie. There is no such Saren. She is a construct, a falsehood. And in reality, Saren is more like this, even including the ugly bits. This is the same character, by the way. This picture is apparently like a vampire in an anime series. And this is her normally, and then this is her like when the bloodlust takes over. Not particularly important, but this particular picture this captures Saren so much better than this does. I could see this, and I can definitely see Saren in it because Saren, in part, her hair is more, sticky outy like this. Anyway, so in reality, we know that the Faces of Fear are people who mutilate themselves on purpose and view it as a form of religious devotion. And Saren is no different. And this is where the first part of the only really, really disgusting part comes up. Let's go with, actually, let's not go with that first. Let's first start with Saren's personality. Then we'll get into what she actually looks like. In reality, Saren is a complete religious fanatic. She believes that she is the personal prophet. She is the face and the voice and the hands and the very will of the Face of Fear. She hears the Face of Fear speak to her in her dreams and in visions, and she tries to carry out what it tells her to do. And if you combine all the worst things you can think of when the term religious fanaticism comes up, she is that. She has, in personality-wise, and this is when she's being herself, not when she's manipulating people, she has all of the fire and the passion and the belief of, your fundamental Protestant wow, that was a weird way to say that, evangelical Christian. Like the Westboro Baptist Church, those freaks that go around the country and protest at funerals. She has that kind of conviction. She has the conviction of the fundamentalist, extremist Muslims who commit suicide bombings and crap like that. That is the extent of her personality. She is willing to do anything and everything that she believes the Face of Fear wants her to do, including the point of mutilating herself and others. By no means do the Faces of Fear keep their sins and crimes to themselves. They love to spread it around, as we will now see. Let's take a look at the first journal entry for Saren because it'll help explain why she looks like she looks. I wrote this for a website a while back, and it is basically just a bit of fiction about a chaos cult, because chaos cults are a big part of Talis, which is the city by the spire. And so I wrote it. It's the Servants of Chaos. Blah 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 blah. Saren's journal. I'm just going to read this dispassionately. In reality, when I wrote it, you would hear Saren. It's like preaching to her. She gets increasingly passionate and on fire and dedicated, and you can just hear the emotion and stuff in her voice as she goes to it through it. She's not dispassionate by any means. But these are the things these things the face of fear spoke to me. The touch of the ebon hand is of 4 degrees. Oh, I should explain what the ebon hand is. I believe I explained a little bit in the last video. The cult of the ebon hand is a chaos cult that believes in deformity and mutation, and they look upon people like, well, as we'll see here, if you're crippled, like if you had a withered leg or something, they consider that a blessing. So this is where this journal entry goes over her rebellion against that line of thought because it didn't make sense. The touch of the ebon hand is of 4 degrees. Least of these is mutation, change without loss of the concomitant purpose and order. Our present experience bears witness to the present order's utilization of mutation in establishing newfound strength. Does not the farmer husband his animals to breed strength? Does the rose not grow red to the south and white to the north? We do not deny the touch of the ebon hand in mutation. Chaos is evident in change. But Malik, who's the head of the cult of the ebon hand, errs greatly in preaching mutation as preeminent. He leads astray those to whom he champions the lightest grays of the glorious ebon hand, as we shall see. And again, I'm not acting this out, I'm just reading it. The caress of the ebon hand shapes the child in the womb, distorting body and mind and bestowing upon her the gift of deformity. Here it's the caress is the important thing to focus on. Deformity is an affront to the present order. Where mutation is variation, deformity is entropy. Deformity attacks the purpose of the present order, impairing or eliminating so-called proper utility. It is their weakness that prevents them from accepting this, their weakness and the perfidious tongue of Malik. The grasp of the ebon hand is mutilation, a clasp made with 2 hands, cradling we chosen few in the embrace on the left, and gripping more tightly our reticent fellows in the right. We are humbled and honored to serve as the very fingers of our glorious ebon hand in bringing the gift and freedom of mutilation to those oppressed by the present order. I might have said mutation right here. That's just me not speaking right. What, some may ask, is the glory of mutilation that it is elevated beyond that of deformity? They are fools to display such ignorance, as the answer is obvious. Mutilation is choice. The ebon hand bestows its gifts of mutation and deformity without need or want of payment, permission or cooperation. But we are given the freedom and opportunity to unite ourselves with chaos, to display our faith in the masters and our disdain for the travesty of the present order by becoming the very touch of the ebon hand. Be it for oneself or others, mutilation is the greatest expression of freedom. With it we shout, awaken, O lords of chaos, and free us from our bonds. Bear witness to our devotion to your cause. With it we shout, begone, O present order, unworthy of the name. Witness my contempt for you. Watch as I reject your law and liken myself apart from you. Some may ask, why is mutilation likened to the embrace of the left hand and the right hand? Those in the left hand are the faithful, those who chose to reject the present order with their own hand. Those in the right are the fellows, those who had not the strength of conviction to reject with their own hand, but bore witness to the hands of others. These whose strengths wane are held tightly by the right hand, that they may come to embrace their freedom. We who have faith are held gently in the left hand, that we may continue to bring freedom to the oppressed. This part right here, if you're in the left hand, those are the people who mutilate themselves. Those are the faces of fear. If you're in the right hand, those are the people who couldn't mutilate themselves. So the faces of fear mutilate them for you. She basically, in this line of thought, has a coherent, logical, rational basis for cutting you up and mutilating you, really. What I was trying to capture with Saren is someone who has this rational, logical basis for her incredibly whacked out, screwed up religious beliefs. She believes that mutilating you is good, and so that mutilation is good. And so if you won't mutilate yourself, she will mutilate you for you and help you. And that's help in air quotes. That scares the crap out of me. And one of the things that has always gotten me was that I had a dream once. And in this dream, I saw Saren. She was sitting at a table somewhere. And she turned and looked at me. And I, in my nightmare, was incredibly scared because there's really no escaping Saren. She has connections. You know, I just looked at this now. Maybe the top of the Servants of Chaos is cut off by the recording field. I'm not entirely sure because I don't have the lines showing up. Anyway, now we're going to go into what Saren actually looks like. And again, this is not it. All right. Oh, hand tool. Saren's face hangs on her head, like a bag. It is completely unattached from the underlying bone and muscle tissue except at the ears and around the neck near the collarbone. The loose skin jostles as she speaks, and her green eyes peer from beneath her unattached eyelids, as though through a rubber mask. Stringy, dirty blonde hair falls from her head in a mess of tangles. Several bald spots mark her scalp where she has torn her hair out in clumps. Scars, bruises, and tiny, half-healed razor cuts cover her body and face, crisscrossing without any apparent pattern. Her nose and ears, having suffered too long under her knife and self-abuse, are nearly gone. Her fingers and toes are twisted and crooked after healing from repeated fractures. Most of them lack a nail. Half of her teeth are missing, either knocked out or specifically pulled. She cut off one of her breasts and the other hangs black and limp, tortured repeatedly with puncture wounds and severe constriction. Told you, this is gross. Oh, we don't need to go down there. When Saren activates her Face of Fear power, she grabs a fistful of hair at the top of her head and wrenches it back as hard as she can. The hundreds of tiny cuts that adorn her face suddenly open anew and spill dark, nearly black blood. 2 streams of blood pour from her empty eyes, and she coughs up a gout of blood and phlegm to trickle out of her mouth and down her front. Yeah, she is a scary, whacked out person. I don't know how many times I can say whacked out. And when you meet her, this is what you see, which is even worse. I guess I'll just go straight into the other 2 journal entries here for Saren. I will mention right before that, when it comes to her relations with the rest of the Faces of Fear, I mentioned that Warwick is in love with her, and he's seen what she really looks like, and he's still in love with her. But she has no feelings for him at all. She uses him, like, blatantly and abuses him deliberately. She has no care or concern for him, but she knows that she can do whatever she wants, and she basically owns him. And so she just mistreats him to the best of her ability. Because at the heart of it, she is evil, she is manipulative, and she doesn't really care. She, as a matter of course, as a religious belief, thinks that mutilation and pain and misery and all that are good things. And so she works out with, she engenders them and exercises them whenever possible. What was Journal 2 about? Oh, madness. So when I wrote the journals, we saw in the last one how she sort of rationalized her break with the Ebon Hand, the cult of the Ebon Hand, and Malik. She believes that Malik is leading everybody astray because he preaches the preeminence of deformity and mutation over mutilation. For her, the present order is the way the world works. And she believes that the Lords of Chaos, of which the Face of Fear either is one, or is the master of them, or is a messenger of them, whatever way possible, she needs to serve the Lords of Chaos. And since they are the Lords of Chaos and they are opposed to the way the world actually works, she feels that you have to oppose the way the world works. So normally people in general should be healthy and pretty and what have you, so she mutilates herself. You also want to be sane. Sane is normal. So she believes that insanity is better and is actually the truth. She thinks that the present world order was imposed upon everybody and is trapping them and it's basically like a tyranny. She believes that if you could just get past all of this illusion that is reality, you would see this greater existence beyond it. But because you are trapped within this illusion of reality, you can't even imagine there being something above and beyond it. And that comes out in this entry. These things the face of fear spoke to me. Madness is the present order's mocking label for our perception beyond its all-encompassing facade of lies. Madness is how the present order encourages their disdain and indifference towards the truth in order to protect itself. Madness is the seeing man oppressed by the blind, the hearing man subjugated by the deaf, the feeling man restrained by the numb. Such madness is clarity of sight, thought, perception, and understanding. True madness, on the contrary, is accepting the so-called reality placed before you by the present order, eagerly partaking of its lies while ignoring and avoiding the truth of its futility, its false, fleeting existence, gladly pulling the illusory veil over your eyes and to avoid looking the fool, to avoid acknowledging the truth of the present order's deception and instability and impending collapse. Soon the veil shall be torn aside, and you will look upon the truth. Soon the image of true reality shall burn itself into your mind. If you embrace it, it will change you. If you resist it, deny it, ignore it, it will destroy you. For you are a traitor to the truth all around you. You have betrayed reality and taken the deceptions of the present order to heart, mind, and soul. Your eyes are closed, your ears deaf, your fingers numb to the truth. Your mouth is shut and your tongue still in proclaiming the truth. Your tongue still, still as in motionless. Cease deceiving yourself now at this very moment. Embrace the true power of chaos and reject the crumbling veneer of the present order. Bring light to your eyes, sound to your ears, feeling to your skin. Open your mouth and proclaim the truth that you see. Return thought to your mind that does not yet think for itself, but instead passively chews the cud of the present order. What wisdom is there in playing the fool to be seen as wise amongst fools? Rid yourself of foolish notions. Their cries of madness are praise, a proclamation of your wisdom in perceiving and embracing the truth they reject. Delight in seeing that what they are blind to. Rejoice in hearing while they are deaf. Our hidden lords speak, and we will hear them. Do not disdain the gifts of sight and sound and feeling given to you by our lords. Cherish them, remember them, and spread word to others. You will be persecuted, you will be derided, you will be challenged, but the affairs of the present order are inconsequential to those who have witnessed the truth firsthand. We mad are the prophets and seers of our lords. We serve as their images, their icons, their voices. We are their heralds, blessed to be the harbingers of the end of the present order, the shattering of the world, and the return of our hidden lords to set us free. There are three things that I've always wanted to hear from people when they read these. There's only two, and like I said, I worked on half of a third one, but I haven't finished it. It's very difficult to get into character. I can't sit down and calmly write out Saren. As you know, when you start reading through this, hopefully it comes across that it is a sort of mad rambling, a stream of conscious that keeps getting further and further and louder. But the three things that I always wanted to come across when I write them are, one, that it comes across as a sort of religious diatribe, I suppose. I specifically do go looking. When I write something, usually what I had read recently shows up in my writing to some degree. So after reading the Odyssey, I was able to write like it was a Greek poem better than if I were to try and just write a Greek poem right now. When I read Edgar Allan Poe, I start to write like Edgar Allan Poe. There's that impression on me that comes across in my writing. So when I write these, I do read diatribes and things like that to try and get that to come across. The second thing is they always start off really, I want to say intelligent, but what I mean is I use bigger words at the beginning, like subjugated and disdain and partaking, futility. I go with those bigger 10-cent words, and then as we get further and further, it becomes they still show up through there, but it becomes a little bit more mad and rambling. The point of that, I specifically wanted Saren to not come across as an idiot and to not come across as some sort of there's a stereotype of fundamentally religious people that they're less intelligent. And so I wanted it to come across that Saren is incredibly intelligent. She comports herself very well. She has an expansive vocabulary, things like that. So you can't just write her off as being someone stupid and deceived. And the third thing that I want is something I would hope that someone can tell me. If you can tell me where, not where Saren grew up, but maybe what does Saren's father do for a living? If you look through these, can you tell me what her father does for a living? And if you can, then I have met my third point. So let's go back to this one with the description of what she looks like and go down to the second half of the paper, which is her last journal entry in progress and the last thing that I'm going to mention for Saren. So here I had a thought that lying and bribing to convert despite elevating free will choice is supreme. Basically, why is Saren, when she puts together her cult, not Warwick and Garrett, her actual, main cultists, but all the other minor cultists who are in the faces of fear, why does she put up with lying and bribing them? She lies to them to get them to join. She bribes them to join and work with them. Why is that acceptable, even though she says that free will choice is supreme? As we saw in the first journal entry, where mutilation is the highest touch of the ebon hand because it involves a free will choice. Well, she believes that such deception and manipulation are justified because it counteracts the same practices by the present order. Since the present order is lying to you and bribing you and deceiving you into accepting its reality, then it's perfectly fine to use those weapons against it. And then, see, it's not a case of hypocrisy because her efforts lead to ultimate truth instead of illusion. Since she is working, basically she's saying the ends justifies the means. Since her lying and bribing works out better in the end as far as, by her parameters for better, then that's okay. And then right after I wrote that, suddenly I dropped into character. You must never forget that you have been blinded to the glory of our hidden lords by the present order. If I have deceived you, it is only with respect to its prior deception. I have lied against a lie in order to bring the truth before your eyes. I see your soul writhe with hunger for truth and reality, but it lies confined amidst the web of the present order's deception, unable to free itself. Composed as they are to keep the truth away, the only weapon with which I am left is deceit. You fight fire with fire. What I have said and what I have done are the knife with which I cut you free from your bonds. I have afforded you the liberty to make your own choice, where before you had none. Standing now free, you can choose of your own will to follow what is true, what is right, and what is real. This came out, there's another one that I want to write. If you've ever, we already mentioned that Garrett's swords. Have I mentioned that? I don't know if I have. Let me say that Revolutionary Girl Utena had a big influence on the Faces of Fear. We'll get to why with Radek next. But for Saren, there's this line that keeps occurring in Revolutionary Girl Utena, and that is that we must break this world. And I have an outline. It's on real paper, unfortunately, not my computer, and I believe that paper is in Arizona at my house. But it goes over this. Whoa. What is on there anyway? Okay. I don't know why I keep doing that. It goes over this diatribe on how she believes that in order to set people free from the world, she must destroy the world. It's a well-known part of the Tallest campaign setting that the Lords of Chaos are trying to destroy the world. Now, normally it would be insane to help people destroy the world because, that's where you keep all your stuff. But as we've seen, Saren believes in madness and she believes there's a greater reality beyond it. And so she says, just like a chick in an egg, you must break the egg to free it into the greater world beyond. If you just leave the chick sitting content in the egg, it dies. And, it hasn't truly lived its life. And that's her conception of reality. We are like chicks in eggs, and the world, our universe, our reality is the egg, and we must break it to realize the greater reality that lies beyond. And that is Saren.